Hey everybody, Matt Barton here with this week's Broker Minute or Two. And unfortunately, it's going to deal with a question I'm getting a little more frequently than we should be getting. And two, the people that are asking the question don't like the answer, but it's the answer nonetheless. And this has to deal with a byproduct of the national settlement that we had, right? NAR brokerages with the DOJ and the corresponding protections we have because of that national settlement. So let me just give you the scenario. I've blurred stuff out so nobody can be referenced in this, but I wanted to share this with you. So I get requests to sign documents multiple times in a day. And I don't always get to like dig in deeper, but I do enough times, and especially when it's certain things. And this is one of them. So I got this request. Hey, Principal Broker Barton, can you sign off on this addendum to the buyer broker agreement, increasing it to 3%? That's a red flag for me, right? Because of the national settlement. And you'll notice that when this was signed was 2 days ago, the 25th, and I received it this morning, the 27th. And so, I'm going to do my due diligence and hop into SkySlope and take a look at the actual transaction and get the details on it. So let me pop this open. Here's a copy of the buyer broker agreement. Oh, lo and behold, in section 2.1, it says compensation is 2.5%. Let me stop there for a minute. I've covered this in sales meetings. I've covered it in contracts and negotiations trainings. I've covered it in Broker Minute or Two. We have verbiage in SkySlope that allows you to set a higher brokerage fee, right? And if you do use one of the brokerage clauses there, it says, oh, by the way, if the seller pays less, as long as it's above 2% and 295, which is the company's floor, then the company will consider themselves satisfied. And so let me just drive that point home. If you've had this situation, if you anticipate the situation, this is how you handle it, right? And the dialogue would be to my buyers like, listen, because of the national settlement, some things have changed. We no longer have a guarantee of compensation electronically through the MLS. It's all now done in paperwork. And to accommodate this, what our company does is some builders will pay 2 3/4. Some will pay 3 1/4. There's SNS Homes down in St. George pays 4% on everything. And we just want to make sure that's covered. So we're going to put in here in section 2.1 that what would be owed the company when we find you the house that you're going to love is 4% as an example, right? And to make sure that you're not on the hook for that, as long as whatever we find is paying at least 2% and 295, we'll put this addendum in there that says just that. As long as it's north of 2% and 295, we won't come after you as a company for any difference between that and the 4%. So just know that's available to you. I've trained on that. I hope that this is yet one more time to explain that. Okay, so what happens in this situation, right? I mean, I'm asked, hey, Broker Barton, would you just sign off on this? The reality is, it's not even a personal thing for me. I can't sign off on this, right? I look at the settlement statements, and lo and behold, yep, it closed on the 26th, yesterday. So the pattern is very clear. What happened here is the agent signed up a buyer broker for 2.5%. That's their choice. But know this, the company, that is in the eyes of the law, when it comes to contracts, that's a company contract. And so if the company or me as a principal broker were to just say, yeah, screw that whole national settlement thing, we'll just do it because we love our agents and want them to get every dollar. We do want you to get every dollar, but we've also done a lot of training to explain we can't do this, right? Otherwise, we take on huge liability, and I'm going to come to that. And so, I also looked on this one. Of course, I was going to look at the REPC. It actually wasn't a state of REPC. It was a builder. And, this contract was signed back in August 5th, right? And so when we look at this, the buyer broker agreement was signed June 23rd. So this is well after the fact that we signed an agreement, the company and the agent signed an agreement with the client for the services we'll offer. We will be paid 2.5%. Okay. We're stuck with that. I've got so many requests over the past 6 months on this. Like, well, yeah, but the seller's willing to pay this. The builder's willing to pay this. I get it. And that's really nice of them to do that. But we are literally hamstrung on this. So what I want to do is share with you comment here. Let's see. I pulled this up on chat. Actually, I saved these out. It'll be easier to see them here. So with ChatGPT, not that it's the end all be all, but it's a quick study and get you at least in the ballpark. So the question was, here's what the NAR DOJ settlement says about changing or increasing compensation once a property is under contract. Bottom line, no, you cannot increase compensation after agreement. And that agreement is your buyer broker agreement or your listing agreement. Buyer agreements must include a specific cap on compensation. These amounts must be clearly stated and cannot be open-ended. It goes on to explain what open-ended means. That means no increases beyond what was originally agreed upon. And that's why we created that broker clause, so that you could have a higher end and let your buyers be comfortable with it and cover a builder that's willing to pay more than 2.5%. And it has an automatic fallback provision. There's no restriction in the national settlement for us coming down on compensation, but there absolutely is a hard restriction on going up in compensation. It goes on later and says, agreement must prohibit an agent from receiving compensation from any sources in excess of the stated amount, meaning the stated amount of the original agency agreement. And that's straight from NAR. Now, the consequences. This is the why. All right, so here's the question. What are the legal ramifications to a brokerage found doing this, meaning increasing a buyer-broker agreement after it's already been stated and accepted and gone under contract? Good question. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through everything here. In Section 1, it is a violation of the terms of the DOJ settlement, which means if you violate it, you lose the protections of that settlement, and civil enforcement actions are available for the DOJ, including fines and injunctions. Item number 2, real estate commission discipline. And this is talking, you'll see in the first bullet point there, it's talking about Utah. It's not national. Because we have the fiduciary of honest dealing and compliance with federal rules, a violation of the national settlement means our license, mine, and the company's could be suspended or revoked. Right? Notice it says right there, for the agent or brokerage principal broker. I'm not interested in losing my license. Done this 25 years, invested too much time. There could also be administrative fines. And we haven't even got to the really significant ones yet. Civil liability to clients. This could be construed as a breach of contract, and it could be construed as fraud and misrepresentation, in which case there could be additional damages because of fraud. And then there's lawsuits for restitutions and claims. And then the last one, which was really the reason why we had the national settlement, was national or class action lawsuits. All an attorney has to do is ping enough people, and if they find, a brokerage has done this more than a few times, all of a sudden they have the ability to file a class action lawsuit, and that gets to be a hairy, hairy mess. So, not trying to pick on anybody. This wasn't about a particular agent or transaction. This is a general notification yet again that we cannot do this. So your takeaway from this broker minute or two is make sure when you're filling out a buyer agency agreement, know the brokerage clause in SkySlope that allows you as an addendum to the buyer broker agreement to say, listen, we're going to set it at 4%, and the verbiage will be very clear. As long as it does not go below 2%, 295, the company will consider itself made whole, and that way your clients can rest at ease, and you can get more commission, get the 3% in this case versus 2.5%, because it's a really tough conversation for me as principal broker to be like, as much as I'd love to do this, we just can't do it. So that 0.5% that the builder was willing to pay to you, it's got to go back to the title company. I got to get it back to the builder seller. I hope that's, I know it's not a pleasant broker minute or two, but I hope it's helpful and instructive and helps you avoid this problem yourself in the future. All right, that's it for this week. Hope you have a great week, and we will talk soon.